Well, shucks. It's hard to have a meeting when you don't have a meeting. I guess we got a quorum. Where's there's Steve.
Mr. Ortiz is
Okay,
coming down the hall.
well, let's go. Yep. Anybody know where Commissioner Gonzalez is?
Sanders coming in, he said he's running 15 minutes late. Maybe done.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. It's 5 minutes after 9. We're meeting in the Nueces County Commissioner's Courtroom in the Nueces County Courthouse. Today is May the 8th. I'd like to certify that 4 members of the Commissioner's Court are present. Commissioner Pusley, Commissioner Ortiz, Commissioner McComb, and Judge Neal. Today's purpose is to hold a budget workshop to discuss budget planning matters related to the 2013-2014 budget. Okay, Steve? You want to get us started, please?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. As the judge said this morning, we just kind of wanted to go get just a planning issue and give you some of the information we know as far as some of the new items we may have and we know we have coming next year, and then try to get some input from you, the commissioners, on things that you want to look at, consider in the upcoming budget. So I've just had a short 3-page summary here. Of course, the first part is just the process we're planning on using, and we've approved the budget calendar. This year we've decided not to do presentations from all the departments. We've sent out the material to them and asked them to submit their budget request. The only departments we will have presentations from if they have something particular that they feel that needs to be brought to the court. So we're doing it by exception rather than with everybody. I think to date we have 2 or 3 requests. Their packets are due back to auditors by the end of this week, and then we'll have a better idea. So we will then take a look at if there's other ones we want to sit down and meet with. Of course, once we get the packets back, then the Auditor Dale and Teresa and I and his staff will take a look at all their inputs, try to compile it together as we've done in the past, and work over the next couple months of really putting together a proposed budget. And it's really a draft starting point before we start back with you, meeting with you. And the major part of your budget, as it has been, will be done after the 25th of July, once we receive the final certified appraisals from the appraisal district. As you know, we received a preliminary on the 30th of April, but those preliminaries have changed quite a bit in previous years from what's preliminary we were getting when it was certified. So it's, in some sense, it's an ideal. In some sense, it's really, you can't. It's hard to do good planning with it until you really know what your revenue is going to be. Particularly in our case, we need to take a look at our revenues, and once we know what we have for revenues, then we can try to fit our expenditures into that. With that, what I have listed just for opening discussion with you is some items that we're pretty, that we know are going to be increases for the coming year. The first list of the grouping that I have with the on the top there are items that I believe, we're pretty certain we're going to have those increases. The first one is our continuance pay. And according to our policy, employees every 3 years after they completed 3 full years of employment get a 2.5% increase, a step increase in their salary, and that just is a moving target every year. This year we have the biggest group getting that. This is the initial group that got it back in 2008, and this will be the 3rd time they've received it. So this year's there's about close to 400 of our employees are going to be getting a 2.5% increase or a step increase. Yes, sir.
Does that reoccur? So like on your 6-year anniversary?
Yes, sir.
And your 9th year and your 12th year?
Yes, sir.
3 years.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
That's
So as I said, when we first put it into effect, there was one right at that point in time, and now we're 6 years later. Those who started there are now going to be getting their third step increase as a result of the continuance pay. Get your mic. We are taping and streaming it. Claudia did talk to the city. They were supposed to be broadcasting it, but it is definitely taped, and it is being streamed as far as I know. It's not up
sure what
reflecting
that
yet. And they were going to call back the city as far as getting it.
Okay.
But it should be streaming on people's computers, and they should get this. There they are. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Claudia had talked to them this morning, and they said they were going to hit it right away, but they missed it, I guess.
Okay, thank you.
So again, with the continuance pay, last year we had 90 people, and I think, the smaller groups are in, the 2 years we get about 90 people, and then the bigger group at one time here. The law enforcement increase, according to contract, this year is a smaller amount for them. They get a 1% increase. That's, of course, the labor agreement, which will cost about $150,000. Our retirement plan cost, as you know, continue to go up. I think we got probably another year. It's going to be going up before it starts going the other direction, possibly. It's an 0.8% increase again this year, which is a $340,000 cost. Medical examiner.
Is that?
Yes, sir.
Is that because the number of people retiring, or the rate of return on the retirement didn't meet its goal?
This is driven by still factor back when the crash in the interest rates in the market. It's not by more. This is all entities are getting this bump on the retirement plans because of because the interests have never caught back up to where they were at one point.
So, I mean, we're covering the cost between the 7% guarantee and the return.
Yes, sir. The medical examiner, 3 years ago, we increased his salary a fair amount, and then also entered into agreement with him that we would increase his salary $20,000 a year for 3 years, and so this is a third and final one. So with the salary and the benefits, it's about $24,000. Road right-of-way projects, the Staples street widening is coming to fruition this year, and it's going to cost us, our 10% share for the right-of-way is going to be about $85,000. And then lastly, the I-69 State Highway 77 project, we paid $800,000 this year. This is the second of 3 payments we need to make on our 10% share for the right-of-way, and of course that was our initial estimate, and hopefully it sticks to that. But we have that, and that's in a sense last year we used up the remainder of our right-of-way fund. We took some money out of our capital budget and some out of the general fund to pay the $800,000 last year. So this year we need to come up with the full $800,000 as we do our budget. So that's about $1.7 million that are probable increases in our budget from last year. This is all based on your commissioner, your mic.
on the Staples Street. Why are we?
Well, it's part of the county's responsibility on that road is the county's. County has to pay for the right-of-way. It's a state highway, but we've done that. It's when 624 was done. We have to pay part of the right-of-way for state highways.
Okay.
It's statutorily, and that's the reason we're doing this with Highway 77. It's the local government gets saddled with any right-of-way cost.
Okay.
Or 10% of it, Commissioner, not not all of it. So this is 10% of that right away for there.
Gotcha.
Morning, Commissioner. So those, that, like I say, about 1.8 million dollars of cost that we're more than likely going to be having to include in this year's budget. Then the other potential was, I list them as potential because, we don't know. The first one, our health insurance, we haven't had an increase in our health insurance cost or 3-4 years, I believe, and this year we have to do the whole process to network. Our network with SPON network right now, that contract is up, and so we're out for a new one, and we just don't really know where this is going to be taken. So, by the time we finalize a budget, we'll know. But I think there may be some movement in what we have to do with health insurance benefits. The second one is the County 52 extension out in the Calallen area. Whether that cost is all this year or part this year or part next year, I don't know. We still have to get more information on what we're going to need. But right now, it's projected that of that project, the county is close to $1.9 million in sharing at 50% each. Another potential is still in the legislature. Right now, the legislature, in the appropriation bill, there's a 21.5% increase proposed for our district judges. And district judges we don't pay, but the county court law judges' salaries are set at $1,000 less than what the district judges get, and so potentially for five district county court law judges, that could come to about $180,000 increase in salaries for those five judges, and that in a sense has been on funded mandate. The telephone system, the courthouse and for the sheriff's department. Right now, we're in the process, as you know, putting all the infrastructure and all the cabling, and as you see people coming in your office right now, we're putting in the cabling and network cables so that we have a decent media, and the next thing will be is, getting our phone system up to date. We couldn't do anything about our phone system until we had the wiring taken care of, and so in the coming year we should be moving towards the IP phones system for both the sheriff's office and here. Airport improvements, we went to TxDOT Aviation and are pushing them to try to do something on our runway extending and lengthening, and that's the possibility that we may have to face in the coming year, at least engineering costs. So we just have to take a look at that and keep pushing and finding out some information from them. The library air conditioner, that's probably why Ida's sitting back over there, but we still, we're at some point we're going to have to do something with that library. As you know, I think we've got some feedback from them. In fact, I think the contractor said they'd be getting back to us in another week or two. But, ultimately, we're going to have to do something there. The initial estimate from Public Works was, $400,000 or $500,000. Whether, again, I don't anticipate that. If we do it, we may not have to do that all in 1 year. We phase it through, but we have to look in this budget year, I think, to do something over there if we don't have assurance that we're going to get the company to do something about it. Because we started already this year with too many days without air conditioner over there. Your mic, Commissioner. Want to turn your mic on, Commissioner?
Aren't we trying to go back against a design flaw or something, or
yes,
manufacturer that, we ought not to be paying for this. It's too new and it's not working.
We as I said, they should be getting back to us to indicate it within a couple of days. They're couple weeks. They did send those correspondence back saying that the contractor got his info back from the designer, and now we should be hearing back shortly where they're gonna go at this, and so, again, this is only potential, Commissioner, yeah,
Okay.
one way or another, we're gonna have to do something.
Do we have any other mechanical issues at the library, or is the electrical, plumbing, all that okay, or? I seem to
Not
remember
that
there's
I'm
some
aware of.
electrical issues.
No. I think that, we had the door issue, but I think the door issue is solved. I think that, the electrical, she may want an outlet someplace where it's not there, but I mean, as far as the operating of the system, that's working, I believe.
Okay. Good, thank you.
And this is, the next item, which is near and dear to everybody's heart, because we hear it from everybody, but we do have to, we started, with replacement of district attorney's computers. Right now, he's got 30 of them on order. But then ultimately, in this coming year, if what we don't finish up this year, we can get a few more this year with our funding. But the district attorney's computer, this is all with Odyssey. We're going to have the district attorney's computers completed out. The sheriff, with what I'm understanding, they have to be into the commissioners to correct the 2013. We're getting to the point that they have to be upgraded to be able to run the system. Every one of the district judges needs upgraded in computer systems. So this year, we're at the point now. Again, the Odyssey is coming up online, and they need the system to be able to continue to work. So I don't have a dollar number on that yet. Mike is working that for us.
We did do, Mr. Biddle and his staff did do a inventory of what they currently had, and many, especially in the DA's office, many of the computers that they had were 4 and 5 years old, some of them older than that, so they were desperately in need of upgrading.
Yeah, they're all down in the 93 operating system, and it's just not working. Laura's shaking her head. We bought you one or two. No, yeah.
Well, as you know, I know nothing about computers, but I do get calls from different departments saying, my computer doesn't work, and you talk to them, it's the computer's fault, and you talk to Biddle, and we have training, but people don't show up for the training.
That's
It appears to me that if we're going to be paying the money, one, for the computers, and two, obviously we got a training contract, I guess we pay people. There's got to be some way, it's mandatory training for departments to have their people go to this training. It shouldn't be an optional training. I mean, why are we giving them an option to go to the training? Somehow it's got to be mandatory, or they don't get their paycheck, or there's got to be something mandatory to go so that we don't have the complaints and the argument is to either the training's not working or they're not showing up. That just doesn't compute to me.
Well, the area that the Odyssey system is new software. The district clerk would tell you, and I think you look at their reports to show you the evidence that it's working for them. They're right now down to that list of monthly reports that they've been behind. They're down to just having one of those. Their system is working for them as far as financials anyway. They're keeping up, and I think the other ones are users. The one we're having a problem with right now is the conversion for the JPs, and Commissioner Pusley and Mike and myself and the judge have been involved. But yes, when they got their first training in there, they didn't all attend. There's some of them haven't attended any of them. Some of the JPs haven't attended all. The judge and commissioner went back to them and we're providing additional training. This time it's online training. They can do it at their own pace. They don't have to walk away from their office. And the last thing that we saw on Friday, there's still a big list of them that still need to do the training. And
I mean,
and
I don't know legally, but I mean, it appears if you're over at any private sector and the boss comes in and says, we bought a new computer system and you will go to the training, or we're going to find somebody that will. I mean, can't we somehow, I don't care whether they're elected officials or not, it'd be county policy that if we spend money for training and your department is using the equipment, it's mandated you go.
if we're talking about the JPs, then I think the emphasis is talking to the JPs because these are their employees, and the JP certainly can make it mandatory for them to.
Well, then we make it,
to,
I mean, don't keep passing the buck to these people. We establish the policy, and I think we ought to establish if the Commissioners Court authorizes expenditures for training, all departments, elected or appointed employees are required to go take the training if they're the ones going to be using the system. I mean, it just makes sense, or am I just being too shallow to think that? I mean, don't just everybody sit there and grin. Why can't we mandate they go?
You control the budget, and I mean, you can make it part of the budget, but it's their employees. They are the ones that control the everyday management, and they're the ones that have to require them to go to this training. So the first step is to really emphasize with the JPs that this is a must. It has to be a must.
We are going to, Steve and I are having yet another meeting. This is like our 27th meeting with the JPs and their staff. And we're going to bring a report to the Commissioners Court. Next meeting or
For certain for next meeting, yes, sir,
next
Commissioner.
meeting that will update the court on where we are with respect to the JPs, their training issues, their software updates, and where they're behind. We'll have a complete accounting of that. But at the end of the day, it's the responsibility of the JPs to encourage their staff members to participate in this, and we've bent over backwards to try to make this available to them every way that we can. And, at the end of the day, they have to do it, and they're the ones responsible. And what we're also going to present in this report are the consequences of what will happen if they don't do this.
I met with the Biddle several times already, and I asked him to give me a breakdown of all the JPs who hasn't gone to training and the staff hasn't gone to training. And I really don't care about the JPs going to training or not, but I really care about the staff going to training. That's like any other department. The official doesn't want to do it, but the staff, and they're the one that runs the office. So most of them have not completed the training. Some have started but not completed. The ones that are two of them that completed are retiring, so you'll have 0 completed. And I met with some of the JPs, and I said, what can we do here to work this thing out, guys? We need, all this. Then I asked Mr. Biddle to give me a copy of all the cases that are pending, and there are a lot of pending cases that are revenues that haven't come into this county because they can't be processed for whatever reason, because they don't know the Odyssey, or because they haven't completed the training, because they, all these other reasons. And so I've gone to the JP and said, we need to get training, guys. We need to get trained. That's the bottom line. In order for you to ask us for more money for your budgets, I think it's worthwhile that you get training and come back and tell us my staff is trained. And I asked Mr. Biddle, instead of having this staff go for 2 weeks at a time, which is hard to close an office, a courtroom for 2 weeks, or even a week, but to say once they get online training, we can bring back Odyssey for a week, and have them do a 3-day class training, and then have them go to every JP on hand to see what everybody's doing, because evidently there's still some kinks that need to be worked out. Even though they're gone, some of them have almost completed. In fact, Judge Gonzalez probably most of them completed the training, but they're not listed as completed training. So I asked Mr. Biddle about that, and he said, "Well, we haven't updated ours." I said, "Well, we expect them to update theirs, but you haven't updated yours." So when I ask you to give me something, it should be updated just like the JP should be theirs updated. Of course, he's short of staff too. He got one person, Minga, that handles all these JPs and handles the Odyssey. And I asked him, I said, what would happen if Minga retires next week? Because we'd be in a very hurt position. We'd be really. I said, why are we getting ourselves in that position? I said, why don't we train somebody else? Why don't we you're the department head. I said, can you pull out the information for me like you're asking the JP to go? No. And then you're asking the JP to do it, but you can't do it. I said, so, I support you, and I understand what you need. You need another staff person, whatever. I said, but really you got a staff of 15, they should have at least another person in the office that's trained. What if, she's gone for a week or two, so now everything's in a standstill. So those that need help can't get help. So we're back to square one. So those are some of the issues I think we need to look at. And I agree with Commissioner McComb that this training should be mandatory. I mean, this should come from us, that you need to complete that training within 90 days. And I think most of them can. And I spoke to Mr. Chapa and Paul Chapa, and I asked him if he would be willing to train 2 of his people, because since they're the ones that handle a lot of these cases, and they handle this Odyssey statewide. And he said, it's a good idea. Maybe I need to train a couple of my people in case some of the JPs need help. And you go. In fact, I can have the training in my office, and I'll pay for whatever needs to be paid. And you bring the people over on Saturday mornings, or and we can have them all there, and we can go through the training. On the computer, online. So, there's options here, there's different, I think that, we're just not, putting our foot down and saying, this has got to be done, it's got to be done by this time. And I don't know if we can make the JPs take it or not, but I know there's their staff, I mean, they're county employees and they're their employees, but I think there's got to be a point where we can say, this training is mandatory. I guess just like some other things that are mandatory, and I don't know if there's a legal issue or not on that either, but I think that in order to get it done, we're just going to have to say, hey, you got to have this done within 90 days or 60 days or whatever it is. And I don't know if there's an issue with that or not, Judge, but I think I'm concerned too, like a lot of people is, because I see those cases that are stagnated and they're getting bigger because they don't know the Odyssey program like they're supposed to. And some of those that know some of it are still having problems. So how do we get somebody to come help them hands-on, So,
See, before they do the Odyssey, they got to do something else, don't they?
Well, before this whole thing, the records conversion, there's records that they have to clean up into the thing before they go to Omnibase, I think is what we're talking about. There's 2 issues right now, is that because the data is not all cleaned up, the stuff isn't getting put into the Omni system, which is one collection tool, and if we don't put it in the Omni system, then we can't send it over to Lumberger, because once you send it over there, the Omni base has a fee attached to it, and when you send it to the law firm, you want all the fees attached to it, so you need to get the Omnibase stuff in there, so you have those costs there, and then you send it over to other collections. Those are for the delinquent stuff, but the real thing is the data. The data has to be correct. If you don't have it up to date and correct, and you send it in the Omni system, then you got a major problem. So that's.
In fact, Omni is retrieving over 1,000 cases that had to be redone.
Yep.
Well, the problem was there was. When we made the conversion of the data from the old software that the JPs were using over to the Odyssey system, 80% of the data converted over without any problem. 20% of it at least did not. The reason it did not is because it was entered incorrectly in the old system. So and of course based on what JP you are, Judge Pena's size of that was this big, but these JPs downstairs, their stack was this high, their 20% is a whole heck of a lot bigger. So what they've got to do is go back manually now and go through every one of those and correct what the problem is.
So it's not really just a matter of us setting down the law here. It's they got some procedural things that they got to go through. But in addition to that, how we had to hire somebody at the county clerk's office because the state was demanding that we do a better job of collecting. How was that interface with the JPs?
Well, if I understand correctly, the JPs have the option to do collection. I think you know better than I. They have an option to send those collections to the county clerk or do it in their own office. No matter where it's done, we have to do the collections and we have to meet the standards of the Office of Court Administration And if we don't, and when we made this correction, when we set up the collections department down in a county clerk's office, we were faced with, if you don't get compliant and do this, you're not going to get the fees back from the state that's due you. And that's something that I'm working with Commissioner Bussey right now. And Commissioner, we've had several meetings with lots of meetings, but recently and over the last 2 weeks with Paul and his group and the JPs and with Mike and that's what we're working at as far as trying to come up with
I
a
think
starting point.
in defense of the IT department, I think they have been over backwards to try to make this work. We've all, and the JPs have a budget for the training. It's not like we're going to have to pull this money out of the air. They have the money. But when we provided the Odyssey training for them in the beginning, a great number of them did not take advantage of it. Not only the JPs, and they have to get trained up on this as well, but their staffs did not go. But we do have a couple of JPs who have done that. Judge Pena, and they've done a fantastic job. He's up to date. He's pretty much caught up. And then we came back to the JPs and said, okay, if you cannot do the training where you have to send people, and what would you like to do? And they said, well, is there some online training? We said, yep, we can do that too. So you can do that on your own. But at the end of the day, they have to do it, and I'm not sure there's anything we can do as Commissioners Court to force them to do that. They're elected officials. They run their own kingdom. And all we can do is try to do it. And so Mr. Chapa and his group have now offered to help provide time and money and effort to help us get that done as well. So I think we have everything in place to make this happen, but, you can lead the old terminology, you can lead the horse to the trough.
I'd like to be part of your meeting if you don't mind, Steve, I'd like to be part of your meetings if you don't mind. I think that, I think the JPs are willing to, I think we just need to, that the staff is going to get trained, and they want to get the ones that they want to get trained. They're just afraid to ask questions.
All due respect, Commissioner, I'm not sure that's true.
Well, the ones I've talked to, there again, they just feel like there's a issue that they can't jump the hurdle, Judge. And it's like right now, they've got issue right now, but nobody can answer the question.
When you have staff members that work for those JPs, call IT department and tell them, if you force me to do this training, I'm going to be mad about it, and I'm going to show you how mad I am about it when I get there.
Well, you got some. I'm sure you got some of every kind, But there's some that want to get trained, and maybe there's few don't. But the thing is, we got to get those trained that want to get trained and get them trained.
We don't got to do anything. We've done everything we need to do. JPs need to step up and play and make this happen. It's not our responsibility to hold their hand.
Well, I'm not asking to hold anybody's hand, but I'm just, and I spoke with Patsy also about this, because she went through a lot of turmoil in the Odyssey program too for about a year and a half, and she says that things are now working pretty good. And their system is just working real smooth, and there's certain kinks usually sometimes, but it's working a lot better than what it was before. So I guess there's going to be some rough roads down the road. And the other area we're not looking at that it's an issue, and I brought it to Mr. Biddle, is the DPS. When they do the e-citations, and they were doing them by computers, and those were the errors that were coming in also, and our staff was doing the errors, and then they were sending them in. So if there's errors there, they're going to continue. So, and I've asked him, so we stopped taking the e-citations from DPS, and he said, yes, we're supposed to have to stop taking them. So, DPS is having problems too, but everybody's going to a different program, and everybody's having some kind of problems. The thing is, everything comes to us with errors, and we process it with errors. So, and again, that comes back to the training.
Well, this is an area we're going to have to continue to work on because there's a lot of revenue that was there, so.
Yeah, it's a lot of revenue there, man.
And then the last few things, those are smaller things, but they're on the list that we talked about. We have the, for the coming year, the BP funding of $30,000, the Harbor Bridge project, we funded 15,000 last year, and we look forward to do that again next year. And then the South Texas Military Facilities Task Force, having the funding again this year on that. It looks like it's coming back again. I read in the paper the other day. Consideration, the Regional Health Awareness Board, we haven't funded for the last 2 years, I believe, maybe 3, but 2 years, and they've got their stuff back together. Now they're coming back and asking for it again for the coming year, so we just have to, look at that, as the court will have to look at that. And I think the MPO continues to get cut into some funding over there, and they're looking at potentially have to go to the local governments and try to get some assistance there. I don't know. I'm going to work with Tom to try to get some idea of that. But this is just a small list of some of the things, and I think, Judge, that's what I had. I think the other, open to commissioners and Judge.
What is it? I'm sorry, what is STM?
South Texas Military Task Force.
Where's that at, Judge? I don't know where's that at. What do we do with that?
With the chamber and
the initiative of the Chamber of Commerce in South Texas on protecting the bases and what's going on out. We, the city, the port, a number of individual businesses are funding that effort. Okay, what I'd like to do now is everybody take a look at this. Now, these are not necessarily wish lists, whatever that is, but the first $1.7 million is pretty set. We're going to have to fund those things this year in the budget process just because they're recurring, or they're things that we have already committed to, or they're things we have to commit to. As far as funding the right-of-way for expansions of the road, we're at our second payment of $800,000. None of those right now have any dedicated funding. So whatever we do in the budget process, $1.7 million is either going to have to come out of any expanded revenue opportunities through a growth in ad valorem tax base, or we're going to have to begin to take a hard look at other areas of the budget. That's almost $2 million. The area below that line, the health insurance, as Steve said, we're going to have to go out, and the entire health insurance program has to be rebid this year. Chris Despond last year gave us a 1-year extension, but they told us we would have to renegotiate that this year along with whatever else we do. That's the lion's share of the cost of the health plan, and whatever they do or whatever we do in negotiating with them or someone else for the basic hospital coverage is going to set the tone for whatever our health care costs are. The County Road 52 extension, all of that does not have to be paid in 1 year, nor will it be paid in 1 year. And we're having to work very closely with the city on that. I don't know where we are there. A portion of that is going to have to be paid this year, but of course, not nearly all of 1.8 million. The unfunded mandate for the county court at law judges, I don't know where that bill is in the legislature, but I can tell you that there's little opposition to that by the legislators because their retirement pay is tied to what the district judges make. So if they give the district judges a raise, they get a raise in their retirement pay. So it may not be 21%, but it's going to be something. And they haven't had a raise, the district judges haven't had a raise in a number of legislative sessions, and when I talk to the folks in Austin, they're going to get something. I don't know what it is, it may be 10%, whatever it is, but that falls back on us to fund the county court at law judges at slightly below what the state pays them. The telephone system upgrade, Mike Pusley is working very closely with the sheriff. He's very cooperative right now and trying to help us figure out the cost sharing on this, but it's going to be something. There's some money available for that right now in the budget, but not nearly $900,000. And so, guys, the air conditioning on the library, we dodged that bullet as long as I've been here. We're going to have to do something this year, and it may be a small portion of that, but it's going to have to do something because we can't just keep suffering through that mess over there that we have. So the reason I'm saying this is we would like to ask you all if there's other things you'd like for us to, in the process, to look at and consider. But you can see we're pretty tight going in right now, just started standing still with what our known costs are. So we'd love to talk about this now, so when we start planning and bring something back, it won't be a surprise to anybody.